All right. Well, welcome to the second episode of the Connected Car Dilemma. Today's honorable guest is Ron Marvo. Ron is a business development coach, a keynote speaker, the host of the Great American Underdog podcast, which is a top show known for spotlighting stories of real grit, resilience, and transformation. So welcome, Ron.
Great to be here, Dean. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be in the inaugural season of the Connected Car Dilemma.
Well, thank you, brother. Hey, man, you've been podcasting for a while now, so I expect just the pro level up here on the show from you. So thank you for being our guest today. For those who don't know you, would you do us a favor? Take us into the Ron Marvo world. Give us your journey. How'd you get where you are today? What's your background?
It's definitely been a interesting journey, Dean. I believe that there are no accidents or accidents in the universe, rather. I started my life in New Jersey. Family's originally New York natives. And in my professional career, I spent about 10 years in service and hospitality, working in restaurants. Dad always, instilled a lot of work ethic in me from a very young age. So I was always a go-getter from the start. So I always wanted to be around people. I just have natural energy. When I'm with people, I feel lifted up by them. So being in the hospitality and retail industry was always a no-brainer for me. Fast forward a little bit, I go to West Virginia University. I get my bachelor's degree in business management. And when I get back home, my father's like, well, you got to go get health insurance. You got to go get a job, of course. So what are you going to do? And I sat and thought about it for a while. And up to that point, outside of retail and hospitality, I was also a Golden Glove state champion boxer, and I was also a certified USA boxing coach. So I had spent some time doing that. So I was kind of deciding, what direction do I really want to go in, right? Do I want to continue down the boxing route, the retail route? And I had also grown up with two Audi technicians in my family. Dad professionally drag race motorcycles, so I'm very encyclopedic in my knowledge on cars. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I work for Audi corporate? And that idea just came into my brain while I was at my first automotive job working for a lease brokerage in Staten Island. And I was and I was working out there for a bit, learning how to desk deals, write insurance, all these different things, that go around writing an effective car deal. So then I said, you know what, if I want to work for Audi corporate, I better go work at an Audi dealership first and work my way up. Even though I had my bachelor's, I didn't expect Audi to just accept me into their realm. Just because I had a degree, I had to go, again, just like most of my life, show that I can be part of that at a high level. So I went to go work at my first Audi dealership thinking I can connect with people and I know a lot about cars. And it worked for a little bit, but then I ended up being what Sandy and I call Google for people. So when you are a selling professional and you just provide over the top too much information to the point where you overwhelm your prospect, they can't get to the point where they know if this is the right decision or not for them. So I got a lot of people saying, I want to think about it. So I was giving them great information. They liked me a lot. They liked the car, but they weren't closing. And ultimately, they weren't closing based on the real value that was important to them because I wasn't getting fine-tuned enough. So a couple months into my automotive journey, I meet this gentleman who comes in to do a coaching session. And I'm like all over this because the current dealership I'm working at was not investing into any of that. I was doing a bunch of self-learning. So I was learning from the top guy on the sales floor. And I said, this is an opportunity for me to just sharpen my skills from somebody who really knows what they're doing. And in walks in this guy and he starts talking about helping clients make the best decision possible for them, streamlining the process, being a business within a business, how to self-generate your own leads. And I was like white on rice to him, man. I was glued.
Was that new information to you?
At the time, yeah. Because,
okay.
Nobody was really helping me at the dealership, right? Like I was I just knew that like innately, Dean, more than anything. And so turns out that individual was none other than the solutionist, Mr. Sandy Sarami. And he stopped me on the way out and he said, dude, what are you doing here? His exact words, because he thought I just didn't belong. I was in a nice suit, all these great things.
I could totally see him saying, dude, what are you doing?
Of course. Yeah.
That's very Sandy. Very Sandy.
100%. So anyway, I leave that dealership on partially his advice. And I go work at a dealership that's way more prestigious in the tri-state area, the Ray Cattina Luxury Auto Group. And I work at their Audi store that was just built a year before that. And I started there, and within a year, I became the most rated and reviewed 5-star individual in the entire dealership. And almost 4 years into working there, I became a nationally ranked Audi brand specialist. And a lot of that I attribute to, of course, really everything that I learned from Sandy, but then honing my own skills, investing in my own self, professional and personal development. And then after about, 5 years with the brand, I get a call from Sandy, and he asked me, hey, can we get dinner together to talk about something that I think might be interesting to you? He knew my aspirations to work for Audi corporate and to be a sales trainer for them. And we sit down at dinner, and he's like, hey, I think we have a tremendous opportunity to make a real impact on the entire industry and really change the culture inside of dealerships. And I know that you're gung-ho for that. So let's go do that together. And I only made one phone call, and that person was you. So I was super humble and honored and said,
I love that he derailed your plans.
He did. But I also had to make a decision there, like a lot of entrepreneurs do, Dean, which is that burn the boats moment, to decide that I'm going to go into this wholeheartedly, burn the boats on what I was already doing, even if it means taking a step backwards at first to make a bigger impact in people's lives. So that's exactly what I did. And fast forward 4.5 years later, and we're helping dealerships all over the country make the best decisions possible for them and their clients. And it's been a wonderful journey.
So you evolved, you're winning now, right? You're an entrepreneur. You're hooked up with the solutionist. So you're in a great place potentially. And there's a lot of potential behind you and a lot of clarity that's coming into focus now. So you and Sandy work a lot with culture, right? And
Yes,
you work a lot with performance. What are some common roadblocks that you see that thwart that cultural advance and evolution inside of dealerships, or even stymie performance?
So I think that a lot of times, as you know, it does happen from leadership top down. There is no leadership by committee. And when you don't have a exact mission or vision for what you want in the long term, and you don't have everybody rowing on the same boat, it's going to be very challenging to hit stretch goals and goals that might be possible for your dealership. But because you guys aren't all in line, it's going to be a lot more challenging from leadership top down, right? And then, of course, if you have silos between your departments, when you talk about data, Dean, with SafePoint, data is all around us and it's on the front lines. But how do we use that data? How do we empower our people to use that data in an effective way that's going to create a better experience for the people we wish to sell and serve, whether it's in sales, service, parts, it doesn't matter. And then how is leadership using that data essentially to help their clients and help their team members make the best decisions possible inside the dealership? Now, that's on the data side. You know that world very well with SafePoint GPS, because you guys are changing the culture with dealerships, with the connected car all over the place. But from a business development standpoint, a lot of dealerships think they have a sales problem, and really they have a business development problem. And what that means is the individuals inside the organization do not take their jobs as if they're running a business within a business. They rely on outside leads. They don't self-generate leads as much as they could be, using a bunch of different things that we help them employ. And then also process-wise is another part of it. Is just having a simple process that you can explain to the clients walking in through your showroom doors that make them feel that they're not going to have to worry about making a mistake. Everybody that walks into the dealership, their biggest concern is making a bad decision or a mistake, or even just us, regular people on a day-to-day basis.
Sure.
Buying a house or furniture, right? So helping our clients make the best decision possible for them is our guiding philosophy with 7 pillars. That's our business development curriculum that Sandy and I have co-created. And then the 3-step selling system, which is this simple. It's find the right vehicle, do a quick peek and a quick spin, and then present multiple ownership options that make the most sense for your clients or your prospects. And when a selling professional is able to articulate both the philosophy and the process up front, they set a great expectation for who's coming through the door. So we've helped dealerships do that a lot, and they've seen a huge ROI just in gross, but also in retention of clients across sales and service.
So I love that, because today, actually, you know what? Let me quote a recent conversation I had with the GM of an Acura store, a longtime friend, known the guy for about 9 years. We sat down to talk about the connected car. We were talking about sales, everything you talk about inside of a dealership. And the quote he gave me, I can't get it out of my head. He looked at me and said, Dean, I'm drowning in data. Do you know what I'm not drowning in? People using the data. I'm drowning in it. He said, I've got it from my CRM. In the back, we've got it from the vehicles that are talking to us, letting us know what's going on while they're driving around. We have data come in from every digital portal that we have subscribed to. And he said, inside of the store, we've got duplicates and triplicates of competitors that provide the same data. And he was actually putting it all on the tabletop and figuring out what actually works and what doesn't. So as we were talking, I asked him a simple question in the vein of what you were just saying. I said, his name is Tommy. I said, Tommy, got a question for you. How much of the data do you make a part of your daily stand-up sales meeting? There was a pause. He looked at me. And he says, Dean, I'm drowning in people that don't use the data, including me.
Yeah. And like I said before, and that's not an indictment on him. It's just like a lot of times, how do we use that data, right? Like it's figuring that out. And that's where you guys come in with SafePoint and really truly help dealers is like, how do we turn that data into insights, turn that insight into action that builds trust and confidence with our clients and also our team.
And the data can make any relationship sticky, the fixed side, the service side, the parts, even something as simple as the ability to market back to your customers that maybe own Jeeps or trucks, because guess what? You got a great deal on 20 lift kits. So you may want to put that out to your favorite truck and Jeep owners to say, hey, look, come check our parts department out. Instead of $12,000 a lift kit, because we love you, because you're a longtime customer, because you're a loyal customer, guess what we're going to do? We're going to discount that $12,000 lift kit to $8,000 and you can come in. But that conversation can't happen if there's not a sticky relationship. And then there's always the mode of conveyance of that data, that information. How do you communicate? Is the customer ready for that type of communication or not? And I think, to your point, there's a lot of avenues to communicate with the customer from the dealership and vice versa. And I think at the end of the day, unless you bake that into your SOP at the dealership, opportunities, I think, sometimes get missed. And, I think in our business, the connected car business, and since this is the connected car dilemma, I'm going to ask you a connected car dilemma question.
That's fine.
What is your take on how the connected car data can influence not just the marketing, like we were talking about, maybe of, hey, we have this opportunity, could you come into the store, or possibly fixed ops, but actual leadership decisions at the dealership? How can connected car data be integrated into that, and what outcomes could you expect possibly?
Well, first, I just want to touch on what you said before, which is the Jeep example. Let's just say even in parts, like we could take it a step further. And I think this is an answer to the question as well, is getting out of the transactional mindset and getting into the relationship-based mindset. So the famous Jay Abraham marketing guru always says the definition between a customer and client. And it's very important because a customer by definition is someone who purchases a commodity or service. A client by definition is someone who is under the protection of another. So it is 100% relationship based. So if we take like that Jeep example, maybe instead of just showing them a savings on the lift kit, maybe we share with them a personalized story of somebody else who bought it from us in the past that helped them make that best decision possible, that helped them maybe go off-roading and do something adventurous with the Jeep. And then now it ties some level of emotion, some reason to be purchasing that and maybe future pacing them in order to feel like this is a future desired end result or transformative state that is possible for me by doing business with my dealership. Whereas they view us, our consumers and prospects, our clients, people, they view us as very transactional, right? Like you think about the advertisements that go out all the time, which is just all about, hey, lease this new car for 10,000 miles a year at this price point. So rather than telling a story around the lifestyle of the people that would buy that specific car, and when somebody sees that, it's like they're talking directly to you. So how can we use that connected car data to make the shift in the way we lead and not just how we sell, is by using it to transform all of our interactions into relationship-based interactions rather than just transactional. And you can do that with, like, of course, as you know, so many things SafePoint does, the driver behavior insights that you get, the service needs, the loyalty windows, the opportunities to help get first-party vehicle acquisition by knowing the data of the cars that come into the service drive, and then being able to create some kind of relationship bridge, some kind of emotional attachment to a future pace.
It allows you to personalize.
Personalization, exactly. To a future pace reality of having a new vehicle, or what it would be like in service if after they buy that vehicle and they do this specific repair. Imagine you showed somebody a video of exactly what a specific repair is going to do for you when you come into service, but we knew that in advance. So we sent that personalized video to you off the data that we had. And then now all of a sudden that led you to coming into service, because at the end of the day, Dean, this is all about leading with insight so that way we can build trust. So do we have a dashboard filled with numbers that we don't understand what those insights are and what the actions we can take off of them? So for leaders making decisions around data, especially when it comes to the connected car, figure out what data points are really going to drive retention to the dealership. Because at the end of the day, we're in the retention and people business, and we're looking for a repeat and referral opportunity. So if we can get somebody to build the lifetime value of working with us through the data, I think leaders can use that data in order to build more lifetime value and ultimately more of that repeat and referral opportunities.
That makes sense. So let me ask you this. So almost every platform, every digital platform that dealers work with have some form of dashboard. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
The dashboard has data, whatever the data they provide is. You look at that data, if it's on the dashboard, without really connecting an individual to be responsible for whatever their subset of that data on the dashboard is, do you think the staff, generally speaking, become blind to the dashboard?
Yeah, they definitely.
It's just data. It's white noise. It's something else that's up on my screen through the day. Someone's tugging on my shirt sleeve because they want to know where this car is parked. I have a customer in, so the receptionist is calling me as well. Oh, there's the data again. And how do you incorporate that? Does that get down to the individual? I know you guys coach leaders and you coach employees as well on how to level up. So where do you start with that? If you're talking to a new GM today who knows nothing about connected car data, what do you say? Where do you start?
So I can use connected car data, of course, because again, it's kind of the same when you talk about business development, connected car data, whatever you're selling or looking to whatever your product is that's looking to help your target audience, you have to start with why. Like the great Simon Sinek always talks about, like we can talk about what and how, but if we don't understand the why behind what we're looking at, it doesn't help. One example of this is when we go around a room, let's just say we have 15 selling professionals, and you may have heard this before, and we say, hey, I want everybody to write down their process of what it takes to sell a vehicle. What's your selling process? And if I were to go around that room, Dean, no lie, and we've done this so many times, out of 15 selling professionals, how many of them do you think have the same response? How many different answers to that process question do you think we get? 15. We get 15.
Probably.
Yeah,
Probably.
We get literally we get people that have similar ones. And the reason I bring that up specifically is because then when we show them a simple 3-step process and a lot of the things that they have baked, that they have written down or baked into that 3 steps, but they understand the why behind it being 3 steps because it's meant to set the expectation for the client, they're much more likely to use it. I'm not saying throw away what the leadership gave you at the dealership if they did give you anything in regards to a process. That's number one, right? Like if they gave you all those different things for process, well, you can bake everything into the simple 3 steps and set a better expectation. But if you don't know why that's important, it doesn't matter. So it's the same thing for the connected car. If I'm looking at a dashboard of data and I want to know what's important, well, I need to know why certain things are important and then why I should be using certain metrics in order to make better personalized messaging, videos, follow up with clients, outreach in general, whatever the case is, whether you're in sales, service, or parts. I think knowing the why behind the data becomes super important. So it does start with the leadership, right? So if we set the right expectation with leadership when we walk in to do business development coaching and they're on board and they're part of the trainings and they're involved in what we're actively coaching on, and then when we leave, they're holding their people accountable to it. Now all of a sudden there's a true cultural shift because everybody's moving in the same direction. So same thing with data. If we know the why behind the data and everybody's on board as to what the important metrics are, then I think it's easier for the individuals on the team as well as the leadership to be able to go on, like, let's say that Saturday morning meeting, pick a data point and say, hey, these are the insights off this data point. We need to make these adjustments. And that becomes a lot easier when you know the why behind it.
You know, Ron, I think I'm going to summarize what you said and tell me if I got it, if I was paying attention. So the data is there, understanding how to make it accessible to you as the purveyor of the data, how to apply the data that you have into your situation, and how to take that data that you've accessed and applied to whatever the scenario, sales, parts, service, and then using authentic communication, really like true interest in the consumer to communicate back. Then you really never have to sell, do you?
No, and that's the thing. It's like it's proactive versus reactive, Dean. So if you're proactive in your approach and you send some personalized information out to a prospect, you know, a lot of the follow-up that we see in a lot of dealerships before we work with them is email templates. And, you know, the personalization is just hi and then the brackets name. And that's the whole personalization of the email. Rather than being able to send something a little bit more personalized off of, let's just say, something SafePoint brought to the table in terms of a connected car, a service advisor, you know, a service alert that pops up on somebody's phone for their vehicle, but you know ahead of time as an advisor, and you're able to make a personalized recommended follow-up to that individual by being proactive and looking at that exact data set. What are the clients I have in service that have upcoming services? And they're going to be getting alerted on this date. Now, all of a sudden, it's easier for me to make something personalized, take the time out to do that, and actively follow up with them. That isn't just like, hey, just checking in. I saw you have a service appointment coming up soon. When would you like to come into the dealership? Now you can actually talk about the importance of that maybe 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 mile service and what it's going to mean for them and their vehicle and ultimately their safety and reliability of that vehicle and their life.
And then you're becoming a resource and a trusted confidant versus somebody that has a sales quota to hit today. And you're building relationships, which customer loyalty, I guess, is that's the Shangri-La. That's the ultimate goal of selling a vehicle, is to become a trusted resource so that you service the car and then you took such good care of those guys that the life cycle comes all the way around again. They trust you enough that they won't buy a vehicle from anyone else at some point.
We call
if you do your part.
Yeah, 100%, Dean. We call it over here inside of the 7 pillars, it's pillar number 3, but becoming the MTR, the most trusted resource. So that way, when your clients don't know who to call or what to do, it's your phone that rings or your email inbox that dings, because they don't think of anybody else. Like, there's a halo effect that happens if you do it really, really well. And you may already know what that is. But if I sell cars, they also view me as somebody that can help them with anything automotive related. So now all of a sudden, you're a selling professional and your clients are calling you about service related issues, or maybe they're calling you about getting their windows tinted, or maybe they're calling you about getting their car vinyl wrapped or performance modifications, all these other things that come up. And this happened to me, especially with Audi, because I used to tell people, like, I'm not a car, and this is before, of course, working with Sandy, but I phrased it this way. I'm not a car salesman. I'm a car coach. Anytime you have any questions automotive related, you give me a call. I don't care if you're buying from me now or in 6 months. I took the pressure off of them to feel like I was trying to sell them. And that's the gotcha versus getcha that Sandy and I talk about. Clients don't want to feel like you got them, like, haha, like I got you to sign the dotted line and buy a car. They want to feel like you get them, like you understand.
They don't want you to sell them a car. They would like you to allow them to buy one from you.
Exactly. So using the data, going back to the connected car piece, like, whether it's in service or sales, or having managers be able to identify patterns in terms of like who's overdue for service or who's coming up on their lease end. And like, that's an important data point to be, keeping track of, is like, and mining that, right? Having somebody dedicated to doing personalized outreach to those specific people, or orphan clients that are coming in through your service drive who never bought a car from you, but service with you. Why? Why did they not buy from you? And then maybe digging a little deeper into the data of what they're doing with their vehicle in order to make a personalized recommendation to them. So that way, maybe you do have the opportunity to sell them a vehicle, build trust with them, and ultimately have them view your dealership and your people as that most trusted resource when it comes to anything automotive related.
So third-party telematics versus factory telematics. I'm going to take a detour into that for a second.
Cool.
As I talk to dealers, all dealers tell me this, with the door closed, by the way, and someone listening to make sure the factory's not talking to someone in the hallway and listening to the conversation. But look, at the end of the day, the factory is building its brand. If I'm Toyota, if I'm Ford, if I'm Nissan, if I'm the OEM, I'm in the OEM game. But if Ron Marvo Chevrolet wants to sell cars, and there are 5 other Chevrolet dealers in your market, you really would like them to buy those cars from you, correct?
Absolutely.
So if you're due for any service, any maintenance, if you have a check engine light and your factory telematics, your OnStar in that case, flags that you have something that needs love and attention, it's going to say, hey, Dean Powery, there are 5 stores here. Ron Marvo sold you the car, but there are 4 other stores in this market. You've taken your time, your treasure, your salesperson's time, their treasure to market, to cultivate, and allow them. We didn't sell them a car. We allowed them to buy one from us because we're that kind of dealership. We are Sandy Cerami 7 Pillars sales guys here. And now we have a relationship. Now your factory telematics might be offering up your client for grabs to 4 other stores. As a dealer, I get, well, how would you feel about that? Let me just ask you that. If you're the dealer, how would you feel about that? Versus having your own telematics, that a third-party telematics where the funnel only leads to your store.
Yeah, well, that's an obvious no-brainer answer. I'd obviously want the latter, Dean. But what the other thing too is like, we're not just competing with the Chevy OEM, but we're also competing with independents, especially when it comes to the service side, or even a used vehicle dealer operator, because you might have sold them a new or used car, and they might be looking at another vehicle, and maybe those guys are doing something with data that's more personalized. Maybe they have SafePoint GPS, and they're using that at their used car dealer operation. And now they're eating your lunch because they have so many more insights than you that are coming directly from their clientele, because they're staying connected to their clients through the vehicle and through that data. So you not only have the OEM, but you have these independents also that are looking to eat your lunch all the time. So if you're not fostering a relationship built on trust and real value, and it's not just transaction, and if it's only transactional, you're going to run into roadblocks, because when they get that notification on their phone that they can go to 4 other Chevy stores and you've done nothing to nurture them post-sale, you have a potential problem that you might lose that client. So if I have my own telematics and I'm able to make real-time data-driven decisions, I'm able to cultivate my relationships with my clients on a personalized level that Chevy app or the Access Audi app isn't going to be able to do, because they're going to be offering up multiple different dealers. Because at the end of the day, as you know, their job is remain loyal to the brand. We don't care what dealership you work with, as long as you're still buying a Chevy, or whatever the brand is. So how do you differentiate yourself? And I think part of that is being able to use the data that you're getting from your SafePoint GPS, and be able to take those insights and make action items off of them that are going to drive real value and relationship building opportunities.
So one of the interesting things, and I appreciate that, that's great insight. The factory telematics aren't available to the dealership staff to use for lot management typically, which is one of the reasons a lot of dealers actually add telematics to their offering. They get the benefit of giving the customers a better sales experience. We talked a lot about how we treat our customers. We do a lot of business with dealers in Texas, for instance. I don't know if you've been to Houston in August yet,
I have not.
but it's 100 degrees and 110% humidity, which multiplies it to an insane feeling. It feels like your grandmother's oven when you walk out the front door. It's a poor customer experience in 2025. When you walk out the front door, you drag a customer across a lot where the dealer has 1,000 vehicles on the ground. They get all the way to the perimeter. The sales guy clicks the key fob and nothing happens. And then you have to call, hey, can somebody get me the jump box? What immediately do those customers who want that specific make and model think? I would like that make and model, just not that car.
Yep, something wrong with that car. And also, why are you not prepared? So
it goes back to professionalism.
It goes back to being proactive and using that data from like your inventory management standpoint, right? Where it's internal with SafePoint, and being able to say like, okay, where's that vehicle? Oh crap, it's not starting. Let me get it prepped before I have my appointment that's coming on this exact stock number. Make sure everything's running right. Make sure the air conditioning's on in the vehicle. All these different things that you could be doing.
I'll check the fuel. I'll check the voltage. I'll check the location, because guess what? Maybe Bob took that vehicle on a test drive earlier today with his prospects. They didn't choose that car, but they didn't put the Altima back where the Altima goes. He just left it by service. He meant to go back and put it back after, but he's busy getting a deal penciled and closing this deal on the car the customer ended up deciding to buy. And guess where the Altima is? Sitting over by service. If you're looking for that specific VIN, now you've got 1,000 vehicles on the ground. You've got an Easter egg hunt, and you've dragged your clients along with you. So today, I think we are almost compelled by the technology and the expectations of our clients to really do a better job of the experience that we offer clients. CSI is what every dealer lives and dies by today. And you mentioned that you were one of the top rated guys at the Audi store because of how you took care of your clients. But if you're going to put a client on a car based on conversations you had ahead of time, isn't it nice to pull it up before you take your client outside? Check the fuel, check the voltage, find out where the car is located. Start the car ahead of time, as you said, to cool it off, because it is Texas. It's 110 degrees by the time you multiply the humidity into the heat. And it's the customer service experience I think everyone deserves today. And I would almost dare say that if that's not the customer service experience that you're delivering to your customers, somebody should sit down in a room with the door closed and find out how to level up. Yeah.
And also, Dean, to your point, it's like all these things should be part of your process. At the end of the day, this is to your point again about the connected car dilemma and using this data. It's like, yeah, you could have it, but are you using it to make real-time insights and take action on those, to be proactive for your clients? Because if you're not actively working on building the relationship with your clients by being proactive and personalizing things for them, you're running the risk of losing them to somebody who is. So, and the other thing you mentioned before that I just want to circle back is allowing them to buy a vehicle from us is kind of a philosophy of ours. It's more that it's allowing them to make the best decision possible for themselves, because we always say there's no right price on the wrong.
Right there. That's the Sandy Cerami difference. You teach people how to allow customers to make a decision.
Yeah. By the time we get to the close, Dean, they should know like one of these options is going to work for me because we've already decided that the vehicle that they've chosen or the product that they've chosen, whatever you sell, is going to help them make the best decision possible for them. So now there's no such, there's not closing per se because the client should already be closing themselves. This is the only logical option in terms of vehicle, the only logical place, and the only logical person I want to do business with.
How does Sandy say it? Everything you say can and will be
used to help your clients make the best decision possible.
Amen. Amen. And what a client forward position that is versus the old tried and true, baked in, old way of doing automotive where you are hustling them through, trying to get them into something, trying to out-talk them to get them into the box and get them financed.
Yeah.
And then the survey comes out and you get just wrecked on the survey because you didn't stop to ask what the customer wanted. You jammed them into what was in front of you and inconvenient for you,
Exactly
by the
right.
way. Well, I love that, Ron. Yeah, you guys are fantastic. You guys are
Right back at you,
professional.
man.
You're teaching the next generation of salespeople how to treat customers right. You know, we talk about data. I'm going to take it outside of automotive for a second.
Sure.
And I like how you say, listen to the data, but apply it and use it to communicate authentically, right? So, you know, my wife, Val. So 1,000 years ago when Val and I were dating, you know, when the Roman Empire was still intact, I found out, speaking of gathering data, I found out she's not a red rose person. She's a multicolored tulip person. At the time, she was a cosmetic department manager and managed 40 ladies with all the different lines of cosmetics in this huge department store. I was in the advertising department back then before I started managing television stations and whatnot. So I called the florist. I ordered multicolored French tulips. And as all of the flowers were being delivered to all of the ladies in the cosmetic department, in that sea of red, one bouquet of flowers stood out from everything. And it was the multi-colored bouquet of big French tulips. You know how that happened? Trust the data.
That's
Someone
it,
shared
man.
that with me.
Genius. And it was just, and look at how it standed out. I love that story. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Sure. And look, this year, now in 2 months, we will have been married 31 years.
God bless
And
you.
I'm going to actually attribute all of those 31 years back to good data management on the front end and picking up tulips versus roses.
Well, it's funny as we're, you're coming up on some of these other questions here that we talked about before even. It's like tech adoption versus tech activation. You just took data and you activated it, right? Like,
Amen.
That's it.
Amen. I like that. So do you have an example of a dealership that's embraced technology? It doesn't have to be connected car technology, but where you walk them through how to use technology they have that has really, it really just blossomed at the dealership and was a game changer. Do you have an example of something like that? Because I know you guys are plugged into a lot of things and a lot of.
Well, we have a lot of different things that we can help dealers with in terms of what they want to invest in their people with, right? Because at the end of the day, they're going to make those decisions, but also the individual selling professional as well can make those decisions for themselves. And we have offers for both, right? Because we do have our online community, Academy 365. And just something like there, when we talk about in terms of professional and personal development, someone can go into Academy and be able to take the 3-step selling course, watch over 50 hours of webinars that we've recorded in there, download resources in PDFs. So that's just like one piece of tech that we offer that is something that we've curated ourselves in order to help people, the selling professionals inside of dealerships and the other industries that we do work with, be able to do personal and professional development on their own. So that's one thing. Another thing that I really like, and I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I used it, was Auto iPacket. and you may have heard of them. Like that's something that's a really great insight where you can watch how often people look at the window sticker, look at the Carfax, look at the photos. And if you use that data of how long they looked at that iPack and the specific things in there, you can make personalized follow-up. Another one is being able to send video to your clients through something like a co-video. Send a video to your client. You can see when they watched it, how long they watched it, how many times they watched it, and you can kind of gauge interest that way. One thing for individual selling professionals is just using something like Canva, making social media posts using something like Canva in order to put together higher quality posting. Starting a podcast. Like there's so many different things that they could be using technology wise, whether you're at a dealership or you're in another industry, that could be helping you become a business development expert and be seen as that most trusted resource. So a lot of times when we go into dealerships, we talk about being able to use whatever CRM tool you're using it effectively. Like how are you creating smart lists? Like we have a partnership with Pinnacle Online Marketing and Michael Dooley out of Australia. And he helps selling professionals sell 10 to 15 cars more than they were on average per month, just by using data inside of that system and being able to organize your clients in a smart way through tags and smart lists that help you decide how you're going to follow up. And then even taking it a step further and being able to help selling professionals advertise using Facebook Marketplace and all these other things. So we go into a lot of those different avenues, Dean. We bring up SafePoint, of course, in the connected car, and being able to have that kind of data to drive, insights, not just in sales, but in service, because we work with advisors as well. So there's a lot of different ways technology could be helping you. But again, I'll go back to what I said before. A lot of dealers get like this tech stack and all these different things and all these logins. And that's something that can get confusing for a lot of people too. So how do you streamline that, number one, and then also keep the tech that you're actually using, right? That's going to activate insights for you in order to help your clients make the best decision possible for them. So there's a lot of different avenues we could take people down, and we do that on a case-by-case basis. Again, we do no different than what we tell everybody else, just helping our clients make the best decision possible for them. And if that means pointing them in one technology direction compared to another, we're going to do that.
I think and thank you for sharing that, because I think that's where we have to be as automotive industry professionals. And I think the ability to take all of the information around you, even though it is a almost overwhelming amount of information, if you don't know what to do with it, take that, sift it down into personalized communication. I think that's the game changer. So basically, instead of boilerplating talking to you, if I can find out the things that you like, and I can, instead of sending out a generic message that I could really blast out on the internet, on Facebook to everyone, if I have a customized message that feels like it has your year, make, model on your vehicle, it has your preferences, it has the things that have been discussed between me and you, and I send that back to you. And now we're just basically having a conversation. Instead of me marketing to you, I am conversing with you. And then we're solving for the solution that fits you best.
Bingo. And you could take the data even outside of the dealership and do your own research in terms of like, do you really know your community? Like, do you really know the people you're serving? Like, if you live in Arizona and you live in a specific region that's, by the desert and stuff, like what are some like extracurricular activities people do? Or for example, we have a group of dealerships that we coach in Albany, and there's a lot of fishing and lakes and other things and off-roading and things like that. Like, are you strategically partnering with the other companies that come before or after your product or service or your sale of your vehicle in order to help your clients, because you know your community so well? I'm going to bring up Jay Abraham again because I do it a lot, just because he's a genius. And he has said a quote one time: if you want to be perceived as interesting, you have to be genuinely interested. And I think that when we look at data, we look at our community, we look at the people in our primary market area, if we're genuinely interested in helping them make the best decision possible, we're going to use that data, use those insights to really drive personalized messaging and action that's going to have them view us as that most trusted resource. And that's true business development that Sandy and I teach. and that we really want all selling professionals and leadership to hone in on, especially in 2025 and beyond. Because if you're not creating an experience that's going to be memorable inside of your follow-up, inside of the experience at the showroom, and also post-sale, whether so it's nurturing the actual experience and also post, you're going to be left behind by the dealers and the businesses that actually do that effectively well.
So I'm going to actually punctuate that with one of the Sandy Cerami favorite hashtags, foot stomping amen, brother. Foot stomping amen to that. And shout out to Sandy. So final thought here, if you could hit the reset button on a dealership, to a modern dealership, not yesteryear's dealership, but a dealership today, what would you change first to prepare them to use the connected car data to be an ally and a friend to help them win versus just another dashboard that's on the screen that becomes white noise?
So the noise thing, and you said this before, noise and signal, and Steve Jobs talked about this a lot, and you may know that. Everything that was noise to him was literally that. He just didn't pay attention to it, and he only paid attention to what he called signals. So those are the things that actually move the needle for you and your business, and those are the things that you need to pay the most attention to. So if you're just implementing tech platforms because it has a cool widget or something that you feel is going to be helpful, but you don't train your people on how and why to use them and why it's helpful in the first place, you're just going to give them an overwhelming amount of things to log into that they're just honestly not gonna. You're going to end up with, I think, a certain level of technology fatigue that's going to drive them to not use those things because they don't know where to start. So, and they don't know why they should be using it. So again, it starts with that leadership being able to implement the how and the why behind the tech platforms that you choose. So don't just, build a tech stack because it sounds nice and you hear another dealership doing it. Does it actually work for your store and your primary market area? And then back to the tech adoption versus tech activation. It's like, are you activating the tech that you actually adopted in the first place? That ties right into it. And like, if your team doesn't feel ownership of that data, the data is never going to drive results. So if they feel like there's no rhyme or reason behind it, it's never going to drive the actions that you're hoping it will drive. And if you make your decisions around helping our clients make the best decision possible for them, as I've said so many times today, and I say that so many times for a reason, because it's just something that I think needs to be drilled into people. It doesn't matter what data you have or what technology you have. So you have to choose the partners that are also interested. Notice I said partners and not vendors. You're a partner, Dean. What you guys do at SafePoint, you guys are a true partner of dealerships. And being able to use the data that you have is an incredible lift to any dealership organization. So if you're using data from something like a SafePoint and you know how and why that's important, and you work with the account reps that you have, Dean, that nurture the dealership so well, you're going to be successful. And now you could have 3 pieces of tech that don't even add up to the value that something like a SafePoint GPS does for a dealership organization. So it's very important to know that if you're getting technology, you definitely want to make sure that you know the how and the why, and then implement it and activate it.
Love it. Ron, it's always good to see you, my brother. You're always smiling. I see the gloves over your shoulder there. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. I can't wait to see the title fight with you and our guy over here, Matt. He's coming along. I don't know if you hear the footsteps yet.
Whenever he's ready, man. Whenever
he's been boxing 2 years.
An invite, and I'll give him a round to come after me as much as he wants, and I'll see what happens. That's my little challenge for him.
I don't think he's ready for that yet. I don't think he's ready.
I'll play nice.
That's fun. That's fun. Well, brother, love you guys. Good to see you as always. And let's foot stomp and amen into the rest of the week.
Yeah, we love you too, man, and foot stomping amen to that. And if you checked out this episode of Connected Car Dilemma and you liked it, please make sure you subscribe to the show. There's going to be so much more coming from the show. I already know that. Dean is a powerhouse of knowledge, and anybody that's going to be on the show really knows what they're talking about when it comes to helping dealerships and helping the automotive industry grow and changing the culture so that way we can serve our people better.
Amen, brother. Amen. Thank you. And we will see you soon.
You got it. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.